Hi angels. This vlog starts out on our third day in Puerto Rico. As I am recording this voiceover for this vlog, I can't tell you the feeling that I have of looking at this footage and seeing this day, because the day started off with us visiting a really popular mall near San Juan. This day and night were so magical. We were walking the streets of San Juan, and we started off walking it when it was daytime, and then it was soon to be sunset and nightfall, so we were walking through the streets primarily when it was dark outside, and we actually stumbled across an art exhibit. And when I tell you that this was a scene out of a movie, this art shop has been there for many years. We met the owner's daughter, and she was telling us how she grew up in the shop, and they were having an open mic that night, and so we just stood around and listened to the people quoting their poetry and just really saying and sharing whatever they wanted to share. We also purchased some art pieces that we now have in our home, and they will always be something that I cherish and have for forever, just remembering the night that we had in San Juan. The next morning we were traveling to our Airbnb that we had booked in a place called Isabela. The drive there was from one side of the island to the other, and because the island is so small, or relatively small, it just takes a couple of hours to drive from one side to the other. So while you're there, you really are able to experience a lot of the island if you chose to do that. And often when we do travel there, we do want to see and experience and travel to new places. So we had never been to Isabela before, and we had never been to that coastline before either. So the drive there was so dreamy. We really enjoyed seeing all of the landscape, and we drove through little towns that just looked over the ocean, and we were driving right by the ocean and just in between all these little houses and towns, and it felt like a dream to me. So it was really beautiful, and we were also listening to music the whole time, like our favorite songs, and so it just made it feel kind of like a pinch me moment. We were just about to arrive at our Airbnb, and the drive was in kind of a countryside setting. We kind of drove by some pastures and meadows to get there right before we arrived. And then right next to our Airbnb was this beautiful restaurant that was just a walk's distance from where we were staying for the next few days. And also near our Airbnb was a private beach access that we had within our paid stay there. And so we were able to experience the dreamiest stay at Isabela. We had a beautiful house and a beautiful beach, and the location was out of a movie for me. It felt unreal to me that we could just walk out of our Airbnb next to a meadow, and then also to a restaurant, also to the beach, or just relax. And there was also a back patio section in the backside of the Airbnb as well. So it was just, I felt like there wasn't even enough time there to just take in all of the beauty that was around us. The moments here on the beach with us all there, and also with Archangel experiencing the ocean for the first time. And he was not only experiencing the ocean for the first time in his life, but in this location and in Puerto Rico, where he's from and where the dreamiest setting is. I remember this moment in my mind forever of just looking at him laying on the beach and by the water and just hearing the waves crashing over and us just looking into each other's eyes and just being there so present. He had actually kind of rolled over onto the sand and he had some like seashells and rocks on his face, and the way that they just laid on him, I just had to capture this moment so I can remember it for forever and just hold it inside of my heart. Ricardo and I experiencing this with Archangel is something that I will cherish forever in my soul. The ocean here on the island is something that I have never seen another ocean landscape so beautiful in my life. I have visited other beaches and locations where you are at the ocean, but here on the island it just feels like out of a dream, where you are seeing the waves crash up on the shore and just the sound of the ocean and just being surrounded by so much beauty. There were so many moments on the trip where I was fully present inside of myself, fully centered, and just having so many moments of feeling more one with myself by being here. And I feel like I always discover more parts of myself and of Ricardo on the trips when we go back to the island. Something very special that Ricardo and I did while we were on the island is we had our first night away from Archangel, and we had brought my sister-in-law along with us on the trip, and she was watching Archangel for a few hours while we went out, and we had booked a private horseback riding along the ocean side. And so we were very excited for this night. It was something that we had planned before we even went to the island. We knew that we wanted to go and ride horses together on the island. It's something that has become a really special thing that Ricardo and I like to do together, but we haven't been able to do it since Archangel was born. And so when we arrived to where we were going to be riding, it was so dreamy, and we rode along the ocean and then in the rainforest, and it was actually the first time that Ricardo and I ever galloped on a horse. And we had a tour guide and an instructor, and he asked us if we wanted to gallop, and I was uncontrollably smiling the whole time that we were riding and that we were galloping, because it was one of the most freeing feelings I've ever felt in my entire life. And ever since, Ricardo and I loved riding the horses so much, especially like the fast riding, galloping on them. So we have yet to go riding again, but ever since that experience, it kind of changed us a little bit in wanting to go riding a lot more, and also just expand our knowledge more on horses and just be more with horses, because that is something that's very special to me. After we went riding that day, we actually came back, and it was our last night at our Airbnb, and we wanted to walk to the restaurant that was close to our Airbnb and where we were staying. So we walked there and enjoyed the nighttime there, and then the next morning we woke up and we went to a new coffee shop, and we were on our way back to the other side of the island, returning back to near San Juan. We wanted to visit San Juan again, before our trip was over. We walked the streets of San Juan and we went into different restaurants and we went into a coffee shop, and this was one of the best coffees that we had on the island. It was the second best. My first favorite on the island is Dream Coffee, and I think it's near Dorado location. But this coffee was incredible, and that was the next couple of days of our time in Puerto Rico.